Hey, Megan's project today for college was to walk around, follow like a little map that her lecturer gave her, and draw what you see. And she's going to be doing this module in like place and psychogeography and all these sort of things that I just think are so cool. What actually is the brief?
Oh, there's no brief. Oh, well, she's like, I'm going to give you activities and then you can come up with your own brief. And it's kind of about like places and spaces and things.
Yeah, but what are we doing now?
Oh, we get a route and instructions, then we have to find and photograph / draw 3 objects. Alright, what did I just say? 1 block and then 1 turn and then 2 blocks? Okay. I don't know what a block is. I think we're just gonna vibe.
It reminded me of this book I read a while ago, Flaneuse by Lauren Elkin. I read it when I was 17 and I am completely obsessed with the concept and the idea. Every now and then, when you find these things that just really resonate with you and really like you kind of go, yes, exactly, this guy gets it. These guys referred to as flaneurs, someone who walks or wanders around a city and his art or his philosophy or whatever like reflects the place that he's in, and he represents the place. And the idea is that women can't be flaneurs because women can't walk around cities like unobserved, as I am currently finding to be the truth. It's a really interesting idea. Hey, so Baudelaire was never asked who was on OnlyFans. Despite that, I think that the hypothesis that women cannot be flaneurs and represent a city and preserve it is incorrect. Also, the whole thing applied also specifically to middle class men, so men of colour or men from lower income brackets also couldn't be flaneurs because they also can't walk around a city unobserved. They're being constantly watched. It's an interesting concept. When I was younger, I definitely, and even still now, if I want to go out and shoot things outdoors, I always feel like I have to dress down. I always feel like I have to kind of look a bit less. I have to wear all black and jeans and not look like I wear earrings or anything, because I have this idea of like what someone who films things looks like and that I have to sort of blend in. I now think more that I think there's a real validity and a real value in observing being observed, observing being a part of a city, because a city isn't just buildings and things to flatly observe like a neutral eye. I think in reality cities are ecosystems. Once you're in a city, you become the city, even if you're a tourist, because tourists also, like, the concept of tourism adds so much to a city. And when I was younger, I used to one of my favorite things in the world to do is travel. I like to walk and make sweeping generalizations. Even though I absolutely know nothing about where I am, I like to sit down in a cafe after me and the person I'm traveling with walking separately for a while and sitting down and talking about our observations and what we found. I always sort of felt like, I think one of the reasons I enjoyed it so much is because I felt like I was sort of outside of myself. I spent a lot of time in my head and because of disability and stuff, I spend a lot of time thinking kind of myself and observing myself and trying to regulate it and watch it almost like a science experiment. It being my body, I guess, or my life. And I really enjoy being away because I get to be this neutral eye looking at something else. I get to be the gaze, but not what is being gazed at in my own head. And I really like that, but I also think there's such a value in observing how you are observed. There's such a value in the flaneuse, getting the tone of a place or the ambience of a place because of being able to, even dressing up, I like to kind of dress up like the place a bit, not in a cultural appropriation way, but just there's a place where everyone dresses up a lot. I like to dress up a lot and see what that feels like and feel like I'm kind of connected to it. And if I'm going to a place where everyone's very casual, like when I'm going to the countryside, I usually dress down, even though I'm not from there, and it's not like I'm I don't know. Anyway, I think a flaneuse that I really relate to and think about a lot is Cleo from 5 to 7, a film by Agnes Varda, who is absolutely a flaneuse in the most textbook sense. She makes these wonderful films where she, documentaries where she drives around France, and it's all about place and space and, literally faces places is one of her things. She made this film called Cleo from 5 to 7, where at the beginning, Cleo, the main character, is walking around and she is watching people observe her. She's looking at herself, her own reflection in mirrors, in shop windows, and she's really thinking about how she looks and how she's being perceived. And as the film goes on, she becomes the gaze of the film, and you start seeing the camera starts every now and then there's shots that the camera's taking and it's supposed to be from her perspective, the camera is her eyes. I think that's how women inhabit cities a lot. I think we're thinking about how we look and we're positioning ourselves as part of the mise-en-scène a little bit, but then we also have our own gaze, and that gaze is aware of being perceived, but it's not invalidated by being perceived. I do think it's interesting though that there's so much talk about and discourse online about how we represent ourselves and what are empowering ways to represent ourselves, and what's empowering ways to photograph ourselves or film ourselves, when probably the most empowering and like feminist way to represent ourselves and photograph ourselves would be not to actually have our face ever on camera and to photograph our viewpoint, photograph what we're seeing. A flaneur piece of work shouldn't have me in it at all. It should be like, it should be this self-portrait, in my self-portrait of what I see. Another thing, when I was, a couple of years ago, when I was like 19 or 18 or something, me and my family went to Madrid. When we were there for a wedding. At one point me and my parents and my brothers all went to Chueca, which is the gay district of Madrid. And we went there because we were playing pilgrimage, you know? It was very sweet that they wanted to do that with me. But I remember thinking, like, it's so interesting that as a gay person, I'm also a queer flaneuse, you know? Because when I go to a place, I look at it through the specific gaze of searching out for that particular history and that particular community and wanting to know where I fit into the city, even if I don't live there, in that sense. There's a YouTuber called The Geeky Blonde who has made several videos about her summer she spent, I think, doing some sort of like internship in Paris, and she's Jewish, and she made, in a lot of the videos she mentions visiting Jewish museums and noticing Jewish history around Paris. And I probably, if I was in Paris, wouldn't pick up on those things, but I would pick up on the gay stuff and the feminist stuff and maybe even the disability related stuff. I don't know, I find that really interesting. I'm kind of obsessed with psychogeography. I'd love to explore it more, but I think in this era where we're all locked down in our own spaces, people aren't moving around as much and people are much more aware and like cognizant and like mindful about the space they inhabit, because it no longer feels transient. It feels like kind of musical chairs. We've all landed in our apartments, in our neighborhoods. I think from a flaneuse point of view, rediscovering and constantly looking for more things to see in your neighborhood is such a big part of this year, because like it's where I'm spending all my time, and especially because I can't go into cafes, so everyone's outdoors, it's a whole thing. I think more than ever we're all stuck in our spaces, and we're all stuck very specifically, like we can kind of pinpoint it. We're like, okay, we're all allowed to move 5 kilometers away from our homes, or we have to stay in the county or whatever, and even though we're all literally inhabiting the exact same physical space, we're in an era where the differences between our experience in that space and the differences between how privileged or how cozy that space is for us and cushy that space is for us is this huge discrepancy. I don't know, I think psychogeography is very pertinent to unpacking that thing that's happening. And environmentally as well, it's interesting. I don't know, I want to read more about it, but that's just my hot take for today. So thank you for having this chat with me.